The Specialized Camber Comp Carbon 29 is one of the few carbon bikes in this year's Trail Bike of the Year. However, there are a few downsides to this bike that perhaps meant it didn't perform as well as it did last year. Despite a £200 increase in price, it's actually gone down in spec level, which means that the Specialized isn't competing on value this year. That is at least in the UK, where currency fluctuations have impacted on bike prices significantly. The Camber is their 120mm platform, and this year we've got the 29er version of it. It's a bike which is definitely more suited to a more cross-country sort of application. It's not a hard and fast, gnarly trail bike, but it is a bike that's designed for covering large distances or heading to your local trail centre loop for some fast laps. There are a number of things that we really liked about the Camber this year. First off, with the carbon frame you get that SWAT door, so it's a little portal into the down tube into which you can stuff a few little bits and pieces. The FSR 4-bar suspension system is something Specialized have been using for decades now, and it's a bit of a classic in the suspension world. It's really efficient, it works really nicely on a wide range of trails, and we generally speaking aren't ever really going to complain about it. Specialized have developed the AutoSag feature, which is fitted to a number of Fox and RockShox shocks across the range. Basically it makes setting up the bike really easy. You overinflate the shock, sit on the bike, press the valve, and it releases air down to a specified sag point for that bike. Generally speaking, we find it a little bit too saggy, but you can fine-tune it once it's been done. The Fox performance level shocks used on the Specialized isn't exactly our favourite shock out there. It tends to feel a little bit harsh off the top and just doesn't perform as well as we would expect. However, Specialized have gone for their RX Trail tune, which is their specific tune for this shock, and it seems to have negated some of the issues we've had with other Fox performance level shocks. Perhaps because Specialized have spent a lot of money on the carbon frame, there are a number of areas of the spec list which aren't quite on par with other bikes in Trail Bike of the Year this year. For example, up front you only get a RockShox Revelation fork, which isn't the stiffest, most capable fork, especially in longer travel formats. Here it's only 120mm, so it's not too bad, but it's certainly not up there with a lot of the forks in this test. One of the things we do like from Specialized are their own wheels from the Roval brand. Here we've got some Traverse wheels. They come with a 29mm internal width, which is really nice and wide, and this gives great amounts of volume to the 2.3-inch ground control and purgatory tyre combo. Drivetrain wise, we've got a really small 28 tooth ring on a race face effect crank. This makes getting up steep climbs relatively easy. This is joined with a GX rear mech, but an NX shifter and NX cassette. What this means is that you only get an 11 to 42 range cassette rather than say a GX, which would be 10 to 42. So you do lose some of that top end speed that you might want on fire roads or road transfers, especially considering that 28 tooth ring up front. What's obvious is that Specialized haven't updated their geometry too much with this bike. The reach of 445mm is short, the head angle of 685 is pretty steep, but the seat angle at 75 degrees is also nice and steep, which is good for pedalling. We're also not seeing a boost back end on the 29er, which you do see on the 650B version of the Camber, and we think this would really aid stiffness overall.
Specialized Camber Carbon Comp was one of our top scoring bikes last year, and it's still definitely a contender, even though competition is a hell of a lot stiffer, particularly in the 29er all-rounder category. Things like the 32mm legs, making the RockShox Revelation forks feel a bit flexier, and a steeper head angle than the other 29er all-rounders we had on test definitely do put it back slightly when it comes to aggressive, hard riding, particularly under braking. And Specialized spec a 200mm rotor up front, which is a good thing in most circumstances, unless it overpressures the fork, which can happen. At the heart of the bike though, it's still an excellent chassis, and it's loaded with some typically unique Specialized features that just make it a really user-friendly and enjoyable bike to own. While it's not a light bike overall, it's kind of mid-pack when it comes to mass. The frame itself obviously has the potential to be a really good, light, efficient, all-day, big mileage bike. The unique AutoSag feature on the rear shock makes it really easy for a novice rider to get on, get a ballpark pressure and get riding straight away without any inherent knowledge of what they should be doing with their shock pump. We're big fans of the SWAT system as well. I mean, you've got a huge amount of space inside a carbon frame, and having a door in it doesn't really compromise its structural integrity, so why not? Specialized have always made really good tyres as well, no exception again here, and they've actually fitted them on a broad rim. So you're getting a good profile, you're getting a really smooth rolling wheel. 24 spokes up front, again with the Revelation fork. Not great if you're absolutely hammering late and hard into stuff, but it's light and it's smooth, and that's what the Camber does well. Even though you're getting a carbon frame, it's still fully equipped for whatever you want to do on it. It's got the dropper post in there, and Specialized dropper post is one of the most reliable and well proven there is. And it's a bike that's just really nice, really user-friendly, great package. Typically sorted Specialized, and the green camber will always be an evergreen trail bike.
So it's perhaps a little bit disappointing from Specialized this year. The geometry is pretty old school, there's quite a twangy front end, and there's also bits of kit that's actually a bit of a downgrade over the same price bike last year. That said, it is a fast mile muncher, you can cruise along really capably, and it is very easy to set up that suspension. So it's not all bad, it's just not a great bike this year from Specialized.